There are places that vanish from maps, and places that remain, hiding secrets no one dares remember. My name is Daniel Carter, and this investigation began with a village that denied an entire family had ever lived there. At first glance, the village looked peaceful, but something about the silence felt rehearsed, as if the entire town had agreed never to speak above a whisper. Strange details appeared everywhere. Toys without children, fresh footprints with no owners, homes that looked occupied, yet completely abandoned. According to official records, the Carter family had lived here only 6 years ago, yet the house before me looked abandoned for decades. The official address led directly here, the Carter Farmhouse. Every document confirmed it existed. The village insisted it never had. I expected an empty house, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was already watching me from inside. Before I could knock again, the door opened on its own. The home wasn't abandoned. It was preserved, almost as though someone wanted time itself to stop. Every photograph had been altered, not destroyed, only the faces erased. Then I found a teddy bear, untouched by dust, as though it had been placed there only moments ago. Someone had carefully preserved every memory, except the people themselves. Clothes remained, names remained, but every face had disappeared. That's when I heard footsteps above me, slow, deliberate, impossible. The sound stopped the moment I reached the landing. The footprints were fresh, but they led nowhere. Outside, the entire village had gathered without making a sound. One man finally broke the silence. "You're looking for people who never lived here," he whispered. Every face remained empty. No surprise, no fear, only complete denial. As the villagers walked away, every light inside the abandoned house came to life. When I looked away for only a second, the villagers were gone. No footsteps, no voices, just silence, and a house that had suddenly come alive. Someone was moving inside the house, or at least, something wanted me to believe they were. Dinner had been served, recently. Steam still rose from the plates, but there was no one sitting at the table. It looked less like an abandoned home, and more like a family, interrupted in the middle of an ordinary evening. The clock hadn't moved in years, until the moment I walked inside. It stopped at exactly 8:17. Someone hadn't destroyed the memories. They had erased the identities. Every picture told the same impossible story. Whoever had done this wanted the forgotten family, completely hidden behind the walls. Someone had been documenting the village for decades. The Carters weren't the first. Entire families had vanished before them, and every investigation ended with the same impossible conclusion. Then I found the recording, addressed to whoever came looking next. The label carried a warning that made my blood run cold. "Play only if they have started to forget you." I pressed play, expecting static. Instead, a calm voice greeted me by name. I pressed play, expecting static. Instead, a calm voice greeted me by name. "If you're hearing this, Daniel, they've already started erasing us. Soon they'll erase you too." Michael had documented every disappearance, every family, every impossible detail the village wanted forgotten. Every pointed disappearance toward one place, an abandoned chapel at the heart of the village. Every pointed disappearance toward one place, an abandoned chapel at the heart of the village. Then came the footsteps again, closer than before. This time, they stopped outside the hidden room. The teddy bear had moved. No sound, no witness, just a silent invitation leading deeper into the house. The photograph should have been impossible. Somehow, I was standing behind the Carter family years before I ever came to this village. Every light died at once. In the silence, I looked toward the staircase and realized someone had been standing there the entire time, waiting for me to remember. The silhouette didn't move. It simply waited. It felt less like a threat and more like an invitation. By the time I reached the landing, whoever had been watching me was gone. Only the footprints remained. The attic had once been sealed from the outside. Whatever had broken the chain had done it recently. The attic had once been sealed from the outside. Whatever had broken the chain had done it recently. Every drawing told the same story. The family was never alone. Someone, or something, had always been watching. The Carters weren't the only ones who tried to leave evidence behind. Every missing family had done the same. For the first time, I saw them alive, laughing, smiling, completely unaware of what was waiting for them. Then the film changed, revealing someone who hadn't been visible before. The camera had captured what the human eye could not. Every clue pointed toward the same destination, the old chapel hidden beyond the forest. Whatever happened to the families? It started there. I had spent hours searching for answers inside the farmhouse, but every road, every journal, every recording led to the same place. The village hadn't hidden the truth, it had buried it beneath the chapel in the woods. The path to the chapel was older than the village itself. According to every journal I had found, no one who entered after sunset returned unchanged. The path to the chapel was older than the village itself. According to every journal I had found, no one who entered after sunset returned unchanged. Don't light up. Don't voice. Yet the chapel looked as though someone had opened its doors only moments before I arrived. The air inside was cold, not with winter, but with age. It felt as though time itself had stopped inside these walls. Every missing family had been brought here, not as victims, but as memories slowly disappearing from the world. My name was already there, written long before I ever stepped into the village. Every family ended the same way, not with death, but with a single word: forgotten. I wasn't alone anymore. The old man had followed me, but his expression held neither anger nor fear, only sorrow. At last, the old man spoke. "The village never chose this," he whispered. "We only forgot, until it was too late." Then I saw the photograph, a child standing before the chapel. The child was me. I had been here once before. Somehow, I had forgotten too. The photograph wasn't damaged, it was simply old enough that I should never have appeared in it. Yet, there I was, standing beside the chapel decades before this investigation began. On the back, someone had written a sentence that answered one question and created 100 more. The old man finally spoke. "You were only a child," he said. "Your parents left before the forgetting was complete. People believe the village takes lives," he whispered. "It doesn't. It steals memories. Until the people who remain can no longer remember those who vanished." The mural wasn't symbolic. It was historical. Someone had painted every family that had ever come here, including mine. Hidden beneath the altar were hundreds of wooden boxes, one for every family the village had forgotten. The village hadn't collected trophies. It had preserved memories. Every object belonged to someone the world no longer remembered. The letter was written by Michael Carter. It wasn't a goodbye. It was an instruction for whoever remembered them next. For the first time since arriving, I conducted the investigation wasn't about proving the Carter family had existed. It was about making sure they could never be forgotten again. Morning was coming. For the first time, the fog seemed to retreat. I carried the Carter family's memories in my hands, unaware that leaving the chapel would awaken something that had remained silent for generations. As I crossed the chapel threshold, the old man offered only one final warning. "Once those memories leave this place, something else will follow." The trail I had followed only hours before no longer matched the map. It was as if the forest itself had quietly rearranged while I wasn't looking. Hidden beneath layers of moss were names the world had almost forgotten. The village hadn't erased them completely, only buried them beneath silence. Hidden beneath layers of moss were names the world had almost forgotten. The village hadn't erased them completely, only buried them beneath silence. For a brief moment, the morning mist seemed to remember what the village had forgotten. The memories felt close, almost within reach. Every step away from the chapel felt lighter, yet the silence behind me grew heavier, as though the forest itself was listening. The village looked different, not transformed, remembered. It was as though forgotten pieces of its past had quietly returned with the dawn. For the first time, I saw recognition in their eyes. The memories hadn't returned all at once, but something had begun to awaken. For the first time, I saw recognition in their eyes. The memories hadn't returned all at once, but something had begun to awaken. I came looking for a family the world had forgotten. I left with proof that memories can survive even when names fade. The Carter family story would be told again, not because the mystery was solved, but because someone finally chose to remember. Yet, as I drove away, the chapel disappeared into the mist once more, waiting in silence for the next visitor, who asked a question no one else dared to ask. The village disappeared behind the mountains, but I couldn't shake the feeling that part of it had traveled with me. There was one page I hadn't finished reading. Hidden beneath the folds was a final message from Michael Carter. There was one page I hadn't finished reading. Hidden beneath the folds was a final message from Michael Carter. For weeks, I documented every photograph, every recording, and every object. If memories could disappear, evidence had to harden. For weeks, I documented every photograph, every recording, and every object. If memories could disappear, evidence had to harden. Every investigation ends with a report. This one became something else, a promise that forgotten stories still deserve to be told. Then the letters began arriving. Different towns, different families, yet every story echoed the same impossible pattern. The Carter family story wasn't unique. It was only the first thread in a much larger mystery. The Carter family story wasn't unique. It was only the first thread in a much larger mystery. I carried out the investigation was no longer about one village. It had become a search for every family history had quietly erased. I believed the Carter investigation had finally come to an end. Then, one final envelope arrived, carrying no name, no address, and a message that meant the story was only beginning. Inside wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. The landscape felt strangely familiar, as though history had begun repeating itself somewhere else. The Carter investigation had ended, but the larger story had only just begun. The Carter investigation had ended, but the larger story had only just begun. Some investigations solve crimes. This one restored a family to history. Sometimes, remembrance is the only justice left. I left the office believing the hardest part was over. For the first time in months, I felt hope. I left the office believing the hardest part was over. For the first time in months, I felt hope. Long after I had gone, the office remained silent. Only the wind disturbed the evidence, as though history itself had turned another page. Places can be forgotten. Families can fade from memory. But as long as someone is willing to search, to listen, and to remember, no story is ever truly lost. And somewhere beyond the morning mist, another unanswered mystery quietly waits for the day someone asks his name.